that's the way I hunt. I mean, I listen to the other animals, watch the other animals and stuff. You know, like jaybirds are notorious for alerting people of something coming through the woods. There may be a fox, a coyote, a cat, you know, or something of that nature. But, you know, if you listen, jaybirds will go nuts. And you'll know that something is moving over there by them, and they're alerting everybody like he's coming. You know, something's coming. And squirrels the same way. You'll hear them back in there barking and chucking, and you know they're making a lot of racket. And then when they start that old petite and they get quiet, oh yeah. Hey, welcome back to Buck Junkies. Today I got my good buddy Colin sitting in here with me. Malcolm's over in Texas. He slipped off and went on a hunt, and I guess he'll be back Thursday, so he missed out on this podcast. But I asked Colin to come sit in with me and have a few, not drinks, but answer a few questions and talk with me today. So we're going to do a little talking today about opening weekend, some of our worst stands we've ever hunted in, and maybe talk a little bit about primitive weapons season, seeing how it's coming up. Or it started yesterday. So
we can have a few drinks if we need to.
Yeah, it's 9:30 in the morning. I mean, is there a time limit on
that? No time limit.
No time. Okay, so you can start anytime.
It's a weekday, no time limit.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess we don't have any contests going on right now, do we? We don't. Well, darn. We had to get one going pretty quick. So I guess opening weekend has passed us by. We really didn't talk about that very much, but what was your opening weekend like?
Man, I had a great opening weekend. I didn't kill him. I shot a buck that needed to be shot a doe. Man, the rut has started in North Mississippi. This was a fun weekend. I had biggest buck I've ever seen on a piece of property, completely run right in front of me. May or may not have been on TikTok. I was on TikTok.
Was you filming when it happened?
No, unfortunately I wasn't. I should have been paying more attention, but I fell into the social media trap. Had a buck bed down about 5 yards from me for about 2 hours. Had to turn my heater off, and I couldn't eat my Christmas tree cake while he was sitting there. So
you got to be quiet.
Got to be quiet. This is a ad for Little Debbie. Y'all need to do something about them wrappers you got, man. Those things are so loud.
They make a sound, a silent wrapper for the Christmas tree cakes.
They do. So
Hunter edition.
There you go.
Hunter edition Christmas tree cakes. You hear that, Little Debbie?
There you go.
Or just put them in the box and don't wrap them up.
Yeah, the problem is I'd eat the whole box if I took the whole box with me.
So what was the buck that you've seen? Have you seen him before?
Never seen him before. Don't have him on camera. And I've got enough cameras on 180 acres to see anything that I've got on camera.
So do you think it's just like a random deer that just kind of chased the dog on your property, been staying somewhere else?
I do. I think he came off a neighbor's property to the east of me. Nobody hunts that property. It's thick. I don't know if anybody's been in there in 10 years.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of our deer do come off of that property.
Yeah.
But when I tell you he was on a doe, he was running Mach 150 chasing a doe. I mean, there was no chance, even if I would have been watching, that I could have squeezed a shot off at him or got him to stop.
Was he on the doe by himself, or is there other bucks around?
He was the man on
it. Main one owner. Okay.
Yep, so
right on top of her, I guess.
Right on. I say right on 10, 15 feet behind her, maybe.
Okay.
But I consider that. I mean, that's right there. But every buck I saw was split. They were single bucks chasing does this week. So it's on. So
what was the little buck was it a little buck that come up and bedded down by you?
Yeah, it was a little 4-point. I guess he had met his woman the night before or something, and he had just been running all night. When I tell you, he come up and lay next to me, maybe, I don't know, 5, 10 feet, and just mouth open, just breathing hard.
He didn't give it all he had.
He gave it all he had. He needed to lay down and rest. And so he decided to do it about 10 feet from me, which I hadn't been that quiet on a hunt in probably years. So he stayed there for about 2 hours, and he just hung out. And it was pretty cool to see, though. I mean, you don't get to see that a whole lot with a wild animal, so that was really, really cool to see. So,
yeah, because you always wonder, like, when they're chasing does and stuff like that, I mean, I know animals have a lot more strength than we do, and a different kind of strength than we do. You know, ours kind of fatigues and plays out, and they've got a lot more stamina than we do, even though they, don't really do a whole lot other than just walk around most of the time, and they do a little running. But when that rut hits and they're running hard, at what point does those bucks like really get tired enough to I got to give up here. I'm just going to run myself to the, to death.
Yeah.
You wonder about that. I wonder about that sometimes because I've seen them run down in the Delta. I've seen them cover a 300-acre field back and forth in a morning multiple times. The same bucks, and they are just as hard as they can go. If the doe don't stop, they don't stop.
Yeah.
And man, if they're running like that, I mean, you just wonder, like, because hunting dogs get tired. I mean, I've had those, and you gotta let them, take a break, get them some water and stuff like that, and let them go again. And you don't want, especially if it's hot. If it's cooler, it's a little easier on them. But these bucks, you just wonder, like, where do they just say, all right, Colin, you can have that one. I ain't chasing her no more. You know what I mean? You just that's always been a question in my mind is where do they stop at? Where do they just say, all right, I'm not going to survive this if I keep on?
My only thought was because he came out by himself, but clearly you could tell he had been chasing last night into that morning. Yeah. I'm thinking maybe a neighbor shot a doe out from under him or something. I don't know, but he did. He came right there and laid down, and I think that's a testament to. I'm going down a different path here, but to hunt the wind. Yeah. Because for the first time in years, I decided that morning to flip the propane heater on, and I had that thing on while he was sitting 5-10 yards from me. Never even looked up at me. There. No. So yeah, that's I love seeing that, and a lot of people have sent me videos in the past few days. Yeah. Buddies of mine or hunting partners of mine or something like that, where these bucks are just a lot of them are younger bucks right now, but. They are dogging them does right now. Out there where I live, man, if you don't follow Tate County Whitetails on Facebook, they've been posting pictures right out there. One of them was killed right there by us.
Yeah, I've seen they've been killing some
It is
pretty good ones.
Stud. So
they've been posting some pretty good ones out there. I kind of feel you can tell, usually, opening weekend, somebody may have one that they got tied down. They've been seeing in a field feed and got him patterned pretty good. And, there's a handful, but when that rut clicks in or hits, it's, you start seeing a lot more pictures of bigger bucks, and
you do.
They some people are getting. I'm one of them. Shoot, I get lucky every year too. I sit up there and a big one that I ain't never seen runs by me.
Mississippi's on the map now for some big bucks. So big bucks and the hardest turkeys to kill in the whole world. So
hey, there you go.
So
you want to challenge yourself? You got to hunt in Mississippi. Yeah. So our opening weekend went a little different. We hunted opening weekend, and of course, every year, I mean, we've only had a couple of them that were like just really good weather. And this year it was warm again here, and I don't know, it almost made me not want to get in the stand, but it was opening weekend, so I had, I was going to. But anyways, so we got up there, and we didn't see hardly any bucks at all. Maybe one or two small ones, something like that. But they were just feeding and stuff like that. But we hadn't seen a whole lot of, big deer. We are now, just everything's starting to cool down. The bigger deer getting up, moving a lot more. But me and Malcolm kind of went on doe patrol, so we doubled down on some does opening day. Went ahead and clipped off 2 does that evening, get us some meat in the freezer. And we ran those to the processor real quick, so we're waiting on them to come back. But, man, yeah, that's another thing I was going to ask. A lot of people have a theory about when to shoot does. What's your thoughts on that? When is the best time to shoot a doe in your opinion?
Anytime you see one.
There you go. Okay.
I'm all about killing does. We got so many of them on every piece of property that I either lease or we own. Anytime I see a doe, if I feel like cleaning a doe, I'm shooting a doe.
Yeah, because I've watched a lot of stuff on, when is the best time to kill does and stuff like that. And that's the way I've always been. I mean, if it's a slow morning or something like that and that big doe comes out there, there's certain does that kind of touch me off anyways. You know what I mean? Like I see her, I'm like, oh, yeah, she's fixing to go.
Yep.
I don't care what's in the field, a big old doe, great big one. And I like shooting them big does. But, yeah, any other time we're just doing doe management, man. I usually try to get those early in the season, opening weekend, stuff like that, because it's still warm. Nothing's really moving around, going to touch them off. But one of the guys was telling me that, or he was saying that it's better to shoot them later in the season because they've already bred, so they're not going to, if you shoot one, if she's already got, if she's knocked up, then you got 2 that you actually took off of the property. So, and that makes sense. That makes sense. It makes sense to me too, but I'm not going to miss an opportunity to.
I had intentions to shoot a lot more does opening weekend, but when I started seeing bucks chasing, I kept, every time I saw a doe walking to the field, I'm like, well, I'm going to wait. Let's see what's behind her. And then about that time, she'd either walk off or run off, and the buck would be behind her. So,
yeah.
I don't know. It's a challenging game. But
it is. That now is really the only time that I probably won't shoot.
I won't.
Because
I probably
know
won't
that
right
the
now.
rut is in. It's full. You know, if I hadn't gotten there by now, you know, got a few under my belt before we get here, I usually give them a break.
Yeah.
And let them, you know, because I know that I'm going to shoot the one that, you know, she's hot and she just came in. I'm going to shoot her and lay her down, you know, and doggone.
Yep.
You know, there was the buck standing over there in the thicket.
And I know I've said it 100 times, and I've said it on this podcast before. We got so many does over here. Just you're not hurting anything. I mean,
yeah, I think you shoot them when you can.
Yeah,
you shoot them when you can because the opportunity may not present itself later on in the year. You may get tired of hunting, but by the time
there were some boys around us that shot every doe they saw this open weekend. Neighbor and I were texting back and forth in the stand, and I think we counted like 11 shots, and all pretty much the same piece of property. So I'm curious to know either. They may need to sight their gun in, or they killed a lot of does. So
well, that's good. I mean, it's good to have your neighbors helping you out with that doe management. I mean, if everybody was, you know, managed them like they're supposed to, we could probably knock a dent in them pretty fast where we're getting that ratio back where we needed at.
Yep.
Because it sure is tough when you're managing a piece of property and you got that many deer on the property. It's tough. We've talked about that a bunch of times, man, and we fight it every year. You know, we constantly shooting deer, and we shoot more than what we can handle. And we wind up giving them away or, you know, whatever, calling people to see if they want them before we shoot them. And when we shoot them, they come pick them up and stuff.
And being a seed guy, I got to touch on this. My exclusion cage right now is like 1.5 feet high.
Yeah.
If it's not in that cage, I mean, it looks like Bermuda grass. I mean, it's mowed down.
They're eating it that much.
Yeah, so that tells you we have way too high a population.
Yeah, that's one thing that I usually put those exclusion cages out, but judging over the past years, I kind of know,
y'all know, y'all hunted that enough.
I've looked at it enough, have had those out enough times to where I'm like, well, I know what this plant's supposed to do, and it ain't doing it. Yeah, we're still
There's
heavy.
A reason for that.
We're still heavy. So, but anyways, so let's get into some stands, man. I'm going to ask you a few questions here, and I got a few stories of my own, but what's the worst stand you've ever hunted out of? And I'm going to break it down into categories here for you, so we're going to go. And if you want to name brands or something like that, that's up to you. I don't care. But so the worst stand you've ever hunted out of as far as a climber goes?
As far as a climber goes, I had a hunt, and we're probably going to touch on this particular trip a couple times. Went with a buddy when I was in college. I guess I was about to graduate college. He called me and said, "Hey, we got a place, Yazoo City." I said, "Great. Big deer country. Big deer country. You know that."
Yeah, yeah.
Go down there. He said, "Well, I'm going to stick you in this." I guess it wasn't really it was a climber. He said, "It's a climber stand, you know. You can see kind of where we've been. We've got a rack up there if you want to bow hunt or whatever." So I get up there, and he failed to tell me that was where, I guess, owls hang out in that tree. And I didn't know that. And it's dark. I'm talking dark. So I get up there, and the sun starts rising. So I guess it wasn't the stand necessarily. It was the experience of the stand. And I hear something above me, and I'm like, oh, a squirrel above me or whatever. Well, I look up, and there's about 6 owls sitting right above me. And when I tell you, I don't know if you've ever seen an owl poop on anything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, all 6 of them decided at the same time.
Oh, on you?
On me, yeah. So needless to say, I got down and I went back to the camp. I was not having anything to do with that. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna cook breakfast for everybody. Y'all let me know when y'all want me to pick you up.
Let me get all this crap off of.
I jumped in the shower. I feel like I needed a bleach bath after that. But,
oh, no.
So it wasn't necessarily the stand, the experience. My worst experience with a climber stand had something to do with that right there. So.
Man, that is bad when you climb up there in the dark thinking you're gonna, you know, and oh, Lord have mercy, man.
And it was beautiful. I mean, beautiful. I was bow hunting, and I was like, man, this is perfect. He's like, we've had this buck. Showed me a picture of it. It's a good 150-inch deer walking through here like every other day. And I was like, well, I'm on the other day that he's walking through here. I could care less. I got down and I walked back like a mile and a half to camp. I was like, I ain't doing this.
You gonna shoot him out of the tree?
No. Well, we got game warden friends, so I ain't gonna say nothing. But
you'd probably ready to shoot him after
I
they
was
crapped
ready
all
to.
over
How
you.
about that? We'll say that. So
Yeah, I've been pretty hot on that one.
Yeah,
I've been ready to bust one up.
I was ready to go. So they had a good breakfast that morning because I had a lot of time to think about what I wanted to cook. So
After you shook all the owls
I
down
did.
off of you.
I did. So yeah, that was terrible, but
Oh my God.
fun experiences though. What about you? You got
Man,
one?
yeah. Oh God, man. So when I first started not bow hunting, but when I first started hunting, period, we hunted a lot of property where we didn't have stands, permanent stands stuck up, no box stands, no ladders, no nothing. So anyways, I didn't have a climber. Wasn't making a whole lot of money. So my dad-in-law gives me this climber, I don't know, it was made like in the 80s, something like this. And you've probably seen them before, but it's got it is a death trap, man. I'm not kidding. It is a full-blown death trap. And it's a little bitty climber. And it's got this V-bar on the back that swings around the tree, and you take a bolt and you put the nut on. Well, he had lost the rig that came with it. So I've got a regular bolt and a nut that I've got to fiddle with in the dark and put this thing on there. But man, both the bottom and the top were like that. They just had one flat piece of metal that come to a V on the back of the tree. There was no like spikes, no grips, no nothing. It was just a flat piece of metal. Anyways, and I started, I knew the concept of climbing, and I'd climbed up 5 or 6 feet just to make sure I, had it, but I hadn't climbed, like really got up, 10 or 12, 15 feet, something like that. And man, I get up in that freaking thing and I start up I'm pretty sure it was a pin oak or a water oak, which if you've ever climbed one of those, that is some slick bark to get on.
Yep.
It's hard. And I get up there and this thing, it starts tapering down at the top. And I get up to go to sit down, to push down on the back to set it. And no, sir, the friggin' top slides down. Well, the next thing I know, it's around my ankles. And I'm standing there just like, oh God, please, please.
Praying that bottom.
The bottom don't slip, and I reach down and I get a hold of it and I get it back up around me. And at that time, I done pinched all the cloth off them Hanes underwear. I was nervous, man. I done cinched up. It's like, uh-oh.
Sound like you were in a death trap.
Oh, yeah, it was. So I used that thing one more time, and then I was like, I'm saving up enough money to get me a stand. I wound up buying, an old man. I don't even remember what that thing was called back then, but it had a shooting rail on it. You could flip it over to bow hunt out of, put your feet on it, or you flip it up and had a shooting rail, which, of course, I never run the shooting rail on it. I always left it flipped down where I could put my feet up there, and I just kind of propped off my knees and shot when I had to. But
those are some of the most comfortable climbing stands.
Yeah,
those old mans are great.
I know we're talking about worse stands, but man, back in the day, still to today, I hadn't bought a climber in years, but
I hadn't either. I don't know if I'm out of shape or something now, but I can't do it like I used to. I get up there and it takes me 30 minutes to cool down. So
I know what my problem is. It's all these guts in the front end. I cannot I cannot do what I used to do in them stands. I remember going to my stand, and I was such a young, ignorant hunter back then, but I would find the biggest tree I could possibly get that stand around back in the day. And it would be arched straight up and down almost when I, got to the bottom of it. And I would get in it and I would climb up, and it would taper out so fast that I had to stop, readjust everything, like pull the pin out, slide the cable down, put it back in, do that with the top and the bottom, and keep climbing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about it because I didn't wear safety belts back then.
No.
And I thought about that one day. I was like, man, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
It worked, but all it took was me fall out of that stand, bent over trying to unhook that rope out head first, and it had been over with, But yeah, after I got through with that old man, it got old, and I don't know, seat wore out on it and some other stuff, cables. I'd had it so long, I was like, man, I really need to go get another stand because I don't feel comfortable climbing with this one. I've had it a long time, and I've climbed thousands of trees with it.
Yeah.
And so I went, and old man wasn't around no more at the time when I did this. They had sold their patent to a company called Gorilla or something like that. And they sold it. It didn't last long. But they sold the patent to this company called Gorilla, and some buddies of mine told me, oh, they're just like the stands we used to have. So I went and bought one of those brand new at Sports and Warehouse, come back, climbed the tree that next morning with it. I get up there and it's like, I mean, it's 30 degrees that morning, hard frost, like really hard frost. It may have been colder than that. And I get up in my same spot, stands similar, not the same, but it still has the same functions pretty much. Looks kind of built the same. Instead of round tubing, it was square tubing. But anyways, went up the tree, got up there, and very first morning I'm hunting it, and I stand up in the stand, just standing there because it's cold. You know, I'm trying to make sure my feet ain't freezing and stuff like that. So I'm kind of squishing my toes and moving around on the platform, the stand, and this freaking platform breaks.
Mm-hmm.
The weld on the expanded metal pops. And when it does, one of my feet goes, I almost come out of the stand. I caught the shooting rail, keep me from going to the ground. And it pops, and my foot goes through the floor of that stand. Brand spanking new. I mean, brand new. Man, I loaded that thing. I come down out of that stand right then. Loaded that joker back up, went home, got the box out of the garbage, put it back in there, and took it back to Sports and Warehouse. And that was probably the last time I ever got in a climbing stand.
Wish you'd have had that safety strap on right about then.
Yeah, Mikey was pretty ignorant. He didn't wear the safety straps back in.
Yeah,
I wore them a few times, but not many times.
Hunter safety system is the best thing you can buy if you're getting in a climber stand.
Yeah.
So, or if you're getting in any elevated stand. So.
Yeah, I never bought one of those. I always tried to use, the old frustrating one that comes with them. The one that comes with them is like, if you've ever worked in a job where you had linemen or, something like that, or elevated job where you had to put those things on. The ones you put on there are a lot easier than the ones that come out of that tree stand, because they're made out of that nylon,
Yep.
almost like seatbelt material. And man, it gets tangled up and you are wadded up in that thing trying to figure out how to get it on.
They're not very comfortable, but they can save your life.
But those hunter safety systems, the ones with the vest,
yep.
Where you zip up the vest, still got to do the leg part
mm-hmm.
of it, but they make it a lot easier. I think I may have used one of those one time somebody had just to try it. And by that time I was about out of climbing deer stands, because that one pretty much broke me right there getting in climber when that metal broke. And I don't know that it was the stand's fault. I mean, it was so cold that day. You know how steel is. I mean,
mm-hmm.
I broke lugs off a truck before when it was that cold. They don't take much for a cold steel to snap, and it just happened to be so cold that morning that when I put all that weight in that one spot, it broke that weld on that expanded metal, and that was it. And I was like, well, either I need to lose some weight, which probably ain't happening, or I need to quit climbing trees, get me some ladder stands and box stands.
I understand.
That's what I did.
I understand.
That's what I did, man. All right, let's move on. So what's the worst ladder stand you ever been in?
I don't want to name a brand because I may have something to do with this brand at work, but was in a buddy of mine. This is just a couple weeks ago, actually, before deer season kicked off. It was bow season in Mississippi, so it was October or something. Called him over. I said, man, I got a good deer on this piece of property I'm leasing. Let's go stick a ladder stand over here, and I'll let you bow hunt it too, whatever.
Yeah.
So we get this thing up, like we've hung a ladder stand 100 times. I mean, nothing new. Same concept, no matter how you do it. We got it on the tree perfect. Got the strap on the ladder part.
Yeah.
Well, I started climbing up the ladder, and I hear a pop, and I'm like, it's probably just a ratchet strap, whatever. So he ratchets it down some more. Well, I'm probably 6 steps up. So, I mean, I'm up there. My step broke. So when that step broke,
oh, crap.
I came down, and every single step below that one started breaking.
No way.
So I broke probably 6-7 steps on that ladder stand.
And you're not a heavy guy, Colin. Not compared
to... I'm sub 200 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm going to have to say that was probably my worst experience, and I'm glad that we didn't hang that thing. He didn't take his kid up there.
I wonder if they just had it tack welded and not welded all the way around, or is it...
So you can get on Facebook, whatever you want to do right now, and just kind of rough search.
Yeah.
Pretty much what I'm saying. There's a particular brand that's had some experience with this in the past couple months, and I'm sure some listeners are probably very familiar with what I'm talking about. So I don't know if they got a bad batch of ladder stands or something that came out, but that was probably my scariest experience. And man, I'm glad I wasn't all the way at the top of that thing, because I wasn't strapped climbing up that thing like I'm probably supposed to be.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just hanging a stand like we've always done. So, but that was probably my worst experience. I don't have a whole lot of bad experiences with ladder stands, really.
I mean, as far as manufactured ones, I don't guess I ever have had a bad experience with a manufactured one. Now, some of these homemade jobs that some of my buddies built.
Now, I've been on some uncomfortable ones. I've been on some that are like, I'm just going to sit on the ground.
Look, I had a friend of mine, he called me one Saturday, and he said, Mike, he said, will you come help me hang these 2 ladder stands? Just got in a new club down in Starkville, Mississippi, which Starkville's about, 3.5 hours from here.
Yeah.
He said, got down in Starkville, Mississippi. He said, I already got the ladders on the trailer. He said, I just need somebody to help me put these things up. I said, no problem, man. I said, I was a single guy back then. I was like, I ain't doing nothing this Saturday. I love going out, going to look at new property and riding the 4-wheeler, helping people put stands up and find spots and stuff, man. I love that stuff. So, and he knew that. And he was like, I'll buy you lunch, and all that stuff. Just come and give me a hand. I said, all right, cool. I'll be there. So we get there. I never look at the stands. We drive 3 hours down to Starkville, get back in the thicket, all the way back in the thicket, unhook the trailer from the truck, put it on the 4-wheeler, and we get back in the nastiest crap you ever seen, man. He's found a good spot. And anyways, we get back in there, and it's briars and stuff like that. And we're looking at the tree. Well, I still have not paid attention to his ladder stands. And we get him off, and he's not quite as stout as I am. He's a little bit smaller than I was. So he had the top end, and I was like the middle guy. Like, I put it up against the tree and was holding the ladder in the middle. So once he got it up high enough where I could get a hold of it, I was the one that went on and put it up. We had like a 4x4 platform on this freaking stand, on this wood ladder stand, so it's heavy as crap. I get it up, man, and it hits the tree. And then now I pay attention to what he's done. He has got the angle backwards on his ladder stand. So and we done drug these things all the way back there. And this freaking seat is like at a 90-degree or a 45-degree angle up there, and the ladder is like straight up and down. And I was looking, I was like, all right, cuz. I was like, well, we got to go back to the drawing board. You bring any tools? He was like, I'll be damned, man. He was like, what happened? I said, you built them on the ground, didn't you? He was like, yeah. I said, well, you got your 45-degree going the wrong way. Yep. You're supposed to kick it out.
Did he hang it anyways?
No.
Okay. No. I was about to say, no, man, he's a better man than me. Better man than me. If it
no, you got up in that thing. You just slid right out the back of it. It was so steep. And so he was pissed. And I was like, and I kept thinking, I was like, man, can we rig it? Can we do, I'm like, we done drove a long ways and got way back in here. It was hard getting back in here. And anyways, man, it was, we wound up having to bring them all the way back home from Starkville, load them back up on the trailer, brought them home. That day we got home, and anyways, I helped him. We unscrewed them or unnailed them, whatever it was, and got the pitch back on them correct and put them back together, man. But yeah, that was,
like you said, that's a 3.5 hour drive. That ain't just right down the road.
Oh, it was a long ride home.
I bet it
mad.
was.
He was cussing. He was pissed. We didn't get no lunch.
I was about to say, did you get your lunch out of it?
We was running that Toyota as hard as it would come back to Mississippi. He was so mad. It's funny now. It was not funny then getting down there and going through all that trouble and hanging them. So if your buddies build the homemade jobs, make sure they got the angle right on them before you take off. Yeah, that was going to be bad, because he was like, it ain't that, yeah, it's pretty bad. And I was like, yeah, you're not getting in that one. If you sit down in that thing, you're going to just roll out the back of it, dude. You cannot get on that one.
Thankfully, my experience with the homemade stands have really not been that bad. I mean, they were something that some old timers had built, had left on the land maybe or something like that, and we tacked them up a little bit. But I mean, really, I haven't had a terrible experience with a homemade stand. So.
Well, you better than me. That was my next one, was homemade stands, just any kind of homemade stand. What is the worst, box stand or whatever? Because I've seen some that people have used. Me and my brother were talking about this the other day. Sometimes it's good to build your own thing, set your own thing up, but sometimes there's manufacturers out there with the amount of time and trouble that you're going to go through to build that thing. It's almost just better just to order one and put that up.
Cheaper. But a lot of times cheaper.
Yeah. I've seen some unique ones. I'm not going to say where this guy works at. You probably already know, but Vandy Stubbs, well-known camouflage company. Mm-hmm. He sticks me and Malcolm in I don't know, I swear to God, it was a used septic tank with windows cut in it. Because when we got in it, it was just this fiberglass, like a fiberglass box. I still didn't know what it was, and it just... Man, it was just, Lord, it was bad. It was really bad. And I was like, man, what has Vandy stuff? It was great stand where we were at. I mean, seen deer, but Lord have mercy, man. I swear, I was messing with them. I said, y'all just went out there and dug up a septic tank, changed out septic tank, decided to pressure wash this thing, cut holes in it, and stick me and Malcolm in it this weekend, didn't you?
You're welcome. You're lucky they pressure washed it at least. I mean, could have been worse. So.
I don't know if I might have seen a little toilet paper hanging off the roof of it.
They gave it their best shot at least.
Oh, man, I've seen a guy, recently I've seen a guy build one out of a porta-john.
Yeah.
An actual porta-john.
Yeah. I've been in a couple. I've been in a couple of those stands. Really, they're fine. They're warm.
Yeah.
If you've ever been in a porta potty, you know them suckers are pretty warm. So
yeah.
But yeah, I've been in one of those. So
yeah, I've seen them build them out of porta-johns. Lord, we built one time. You know these old cargo things you see up at the airport?
Mm-hmm.
Where what do they call them? Lugs or something like that. The tug is the actual motor part of it, but these are, maybe they call them lugs. But anyways, we built a box stand out of one of those. I mean, it was actually pretty cool because you could back up to it, hook to it, drag it up in the thicket or on the edge of the, mostly you put them in the fields, but pull them up in those fields and back them up in the grass, let the grass grow around them in the summertime. And man, if you ever wanted to move it, all you had to do is go out there and hook to it and drag it off again.
Yeah.
What's some other ones I've seen stuff built out of? Those were good except for when it was like really cold and then the sun hit it. It was like you're sitting in a rainstorm inside of it. All the condensation on the inside that was froze starts defrosting and it starts dripping on you. I have got in those before and come out, wet, but
I had one, the same guy I was telling you about, Yazoo City. This was the next morning, so I was good. I didn't have any owl crap all over me. I was like, I'm good today, So he takes me to this place, he calls it Firehouse Lane. And he listens to this podcast, so I know right about now he's laughing because he knows where the story's going. He said, "Now look, when I drop you off, you got to walk half a mile here and you'll see it, like clear as day." So he said, "Now the only trick to that thing is the ladder." And I'm like, "Okay, that's fine. I'll figure it out, whatever." So I get there, and there's an aluminum ladder sitting there. Well, this stand, you seen those watchtowers that are like this thing was like up there. Like you could see, I'm pretty sure you could see in like a whole nother state as tall as this thing was. Well, the ladder was only about 10 foot tall. So I call him and I'm like, "Man, is this an aluminum extension ladder?" He's like, yeah, you got to extend it out and whatever. I'm like, okay, a little sketchy, but I'll do it. So I extended it up, climbed in there. Well, this thing was made out of pallets. He said, "Oh, by the way, the stand's not completely finished yet." And I was like, well, I don't know about this now. Like all of a sudden I'm thinking I could hunt on the ground a little bit, but this particular spot you needed to be elevated. And I get up there and it's made out of pallets. He's got 3 pallets sitting there, nothing bracing it. And when I tell you the wind was whipping, it had to have been like 30 mile an hour gust, north wind, freezing cold. That wind was coming straight through those pallets. I mean, and just
cutting you to pieces.
That was probably my worst experience with a homemade shooting house because I sat up there I toughed it out for 3-4 hours, and I got to the point where I was like, dude, I can't feel my hands. I can't feel my feet. I'm gone. So I got back down on that freezing cold extension ladder and walked all the way back down, and I ended up walking all the way back to camp again that day.
You didn't wait on the pickup?
I was like, I'm never hunting with you ever again. So
yeah, it's amazing what people come up with sometimes. I've seen stuff built out of, and
it'd been a good idea if it, just throw some plywood up around. Yeah, I mean, something. But that sucker was wide open, that north wind. Man, that was cold hunt.
It's pretty innovative to see, a lot of the things that people, I've seen them, some of those stands that they're building now, they got TVs and couches.
Oh, yeah.
They got to be somewhere in Texas or somewhere where they can see pretty good ways. Yeah. I'm sure you can do that in Mississippi too, but man, them guys spend a lot of money on those homemade rigs where they got them up in the air and they got TVs and heaters. And I seen one guy, he had the kids playing in the floor. It was pretty neat. They had cartoons going. He was looking out the window. There was actually deer out 2 of the windows where he had food plots planted. And he was just sitting up there, chilling with the kids, small kids,
My wife would absolutely divorce me if I had something like that. You
never come home?
Stick me in a stand with a mini bar and a TV and a recliner? Nah, I'll see you next week. I don't need to eat. I'm good. I got ramen noodles.
Yeah, it's amazing what some of those guys come up with to deer hunting. And it's a good idea. I mean, if you got small kids, if you can afford to do that, I mean, you ain't got to get as high as some of these other guys are off the ground. But, you get something up off the ground, 6 or 8 feet, or, it can be on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
And just build you like a little small area and get one of those solar panels with the, whatever all else you need to run the power in there. And, shoot, you can plug up a TV, let your kids sit down, get your little propane heater put in there, and, you can make a day out of it. And your wife sure would be tickled, if you went hunting and took kids with you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no doubt about that. I tried to take mine. It lasted 5 minutes till we ran out of snacks, and he was ready to go. So. Well, let me ask you, in a shooting house, are you opening all the windows, or are you wind dependent? What are you doing?
So when I get in shooting houses, 99% of the time I'm wind dependent. Yes, I'm checking the wind before I go, because a lot of the stands that I've set up, the wind needs to be blowing in your face or crosswind for the deer not to move correctly. They're still going to move, but for you to maximize that stand or see the most that you can see out of that stand, it really needs to be either coming at you or you got a crosswind one way or the other for the deer movement. But there has been times where I left all the windows shut because the wind, either swirled or, I was like, well, we just don't have very many stands with that, on that wind. One of our worst ones is like a southeast wind, and we get them, here in Mississippi pretty regular in the wintertime, is a southeast wind. It just, I can deal with west winds. I can deal with, northwest, northeast, north winds. It's the east or southeast that usually get me on my stands. And that's usually, and when we have those days and we're still down there hunting and just say we ain't got enough stands to hunt those winds, I leave the windows closed on those days. But if the wind's right, oh no, I'm kicking every window in there open.
See, that's
unless
my
it's
thing.
Just blistering, unless the wind's blowing 40 miles an hour, and
Right.
I got problems with my ears, so I don't like wind getting in them. But if it's not blowing, 40 miles an hour, yeah, I got all the windows, every one of them open on the box stand.
That's my thing, and that's the one complaint I have about box stands. I want to hear everything.
That's me.
Like, if a squirrel's walking 40 yards away from me, I want to hear it. A lot of times in a box stand, you can't hear it.
Well, you might as well be sitting in a house. You got all the windows closed.
Yeah.
I can see it on a day when it's, I've been out there when it's a hard day. It's pouring down rain and wind's blowing 30 miles an hour, and you had to hunt that day and you wanted to hunt, not sit home. And you get out there, you just kind of, you got to leave them closed, But yeah, like you said, like this is a bluebird day. I got them. I want to hear the bird. I want to hear the birds. I want to hear the squirrels, because you never. That's the way I hunt. I listen to the other animals, watch the other animals and stuff, and like jaybirds are notorious for alerting people of something coming through the woods. Now, it may not necessarily be a deer. It may be a fox, a coyote, a cat, or something of that nature. But, if you listen, jaybirds will go nuts and you'll know that something is moving over there by them and they're alerting everybody like he's coming, something's coming. And squirrels the same way. You'll hear them back in there barking and chucking, and they're making a lot of racket. And then when they start that old petite and they get quiet, oh yeah, something's over there real close to them.
I heard that this weekend when a coyote walked out, and that was the end of that coyote's life. So
yeah, and they give it old petite.
Yep.
You're like, yep, that was his last call. That's like if you ain't hid, it's on you if you get eat.
That's right. That's right. So.
But a lot of times it could be a deer they're alerting you. So I like hearing that because that'll alert me to like look and see, like, all right, I'm going to watch that little area over there. Because I don't know how many times I've had that happen and the deer not actually either cross my shooting lane or come in the field, but he may just walk to the edge of the field, check the field, look around, and you look back in the woods, 10 feet, 15 feet. And you see the buck standing on the edge of the woods, all you do is see the silhouette of his horns and his throat standing there just like checking the field, like looking and like,
yep.
Oh, crap. There he is right there. I can kill him from here.
Yep. And there's something relaxing, and I think the reason we all hunt is to hear things like that. It's your break from reality. You get to be a part of nature for, a day or two. So
yeah. That's the only downfall, I guess, of hunting box stands is you are confined inside that box.
Yeah.
I do like box stands I do like the homemade box stands, the wood stands where they leave like a, 2 to 2.5 foot window all the way around the stand where you can you're still outside and you can hear and see and stuff like that. But, You get in some of these, manufacturers, and they got trailer house windows. You shut them all down, you can't hear crap.
Yeah, Sportsman's Condo, which everybody probably knows Sportsman's Condo. They have a bow blind that has the bow windows, and I've got 3 of them. I kick them windows open every time I'm in there, just because you can see, you can hear. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's relaxing to me. So
it is me too. That's part of hunting. It's just box blinds are great, and we hunt out of 90% of the time. That's what we have.
Now look, sideways snow. Yeah, I love them things. Get in there and crank that heater on, and I'm good. So.
Yeah, there's been days I've been tickled to death with them. A lot of days, but yeah, I'm one of those guys too. I like keeping the windows open where I can see in here. I almost want to stick I'm like a little kid or something. I'll stick my face all the way up to the window, like where I can smell the air, and I'm looking around, and I'm not just sitting back, kick back on my telephone. Not unless I done got bored anyways.
Yep.
Well, primitive weapon season opened up yesterday here in North Mississippi, so we'll talk a little bit about primitive weapon hunting.
All right.
What's one of your favorite primitive weapons to hunt with? I know you're a bow guy, but
I do enjoy shooting
about firearms.
I'm gonna say a 35 Wayland. Now, my starting experience with a 35 Wayland was not very good because I was about 10 years old, and my uncle said, "No, I don't kick that bad." Yeah, well, as a 10-year-old, it kicked really freaking bad.
Oh yeah,
yeah. But that's
it was one of those breakover jobs.
It was, yeah. Because he lives in Marigold, Mississippi area, and it was when Primitive Weapon opened, and I think it was all that had opened at that time. And I was going the next morning to shoot a doe.
Yeah.
He said, "Well, I want you to shoot it before you go out there." Understandable. Get it. Yeah, well, I was in for a rude awakening, and I was praying that next morning that a doe was not coming out because I did not want to fire that gun again. But
well, when they came, when I started primitive weapon hunting, you had 2 choices of a primitive weapon gun, because they didn't recognize the breakover actual rifles as a primitive weapon back then. So it was called black powder season. Mm-hmm. It really wasn't primitive weapon; it was black powder season. So here you had to hunt with either a flintlock or a number 11 cap gun. And then they come out with the shotgun primers a few years later. But when I started, it was just a number 11 cap, or you had a flintlock, which the flintlocks were, man, heck no. I never had to do that.
I have shot one of those, and I enjoyed shooting it once. That was...
Yeah, they're fun to shoot.
Blows up in your face.
Yeah, you've got a pan right there. So when that flint smacks it just fire comes up.
Yeah.
I was like, overload that pan.
Yeah, I overloaded it. So.
Did you? But yeah, those guns, that was my favorite. That was my favorite gun to hunt with back then. It was the very first gun I ever bought. I bought a Thompson Center. It's called a Greyhawk. It was a single trigger muzzleloader. They come out with it that year or the year before that I just started. My dad-in-law had to teach me how to actually hunt with a primitive weapon, because I knew, back then there wasn't YouTube or any kind of instructional videos for you to watch that unless you bought like a tape from the local, Walmart or the store or the library or something. You went and rented one and, to figure out how to hunt with a cotton picking muzzleloader. So luckily, my dad-in-law had been doing it for years because they hunted on wildlife management areas down off number 7. Mm-hmm. So the whole entire year they had to hunt with them. There was only, I think, 1 week that they let them go in there with actual high-powered rifles and hunt. So it was kind of backwards from what we had as far as Mississippi laws back then. You had 1 week that you had to hunt with a primitive weapon or a black powder gun, or 10 days, something like that. And on the, then the rest of the year you could hunt with a rifle, but on the wildlife management areas, it was backwards. To me, it was anyways. You had to hunt with a muzzleloader all year, and there was only 1 week that they allowed you to actually, 1 weekend, and the rest of that week that you could come down there and hunt with actually high-powered rifles. So they did a lot of muzzleloader hunting. They had figured out, loads and caps and, waddens and all, and there was a lot that went into it. You bought a new rifle this year and, trying to figure out what shell. It's the same way with a freaking black powder gun. You just don't pack anything down the end of that thing and it's going to be accurate. It may not like that bullet. So I got lucky, and they had a bunch of stuff that I did not have to buy that they had used over the years, and figured out which bullet. I shot Pyrex powder, 90 grains of Pyrex powder, had these speed loaders that I bought. He told me to buy speed loaders. And he told me about all the stuff that I need to have. And anyways, got all that stuff. And man, I to this day, I still have a drive to want to hunt like that and hunt with that primitive weapon. I kill a lot of deer with that gun. a lot of deer that I normally wouldn't have killed. It's almost like a bow. Like you could shoot. I've killed a deer at 100 yards with it one time.
I was going to ask what your range was on something like that.
So we couldn't have optics on the guns 30 years ago. So 25, 30 years ago, you could have an optic, could not magnify. So your optics were either just a, zero powered crosshair or a zero powered red dot. A lot of people hunted with red dots. I just left iron sights on mine.
Mm-hmm.
I just went with the iron sights. Just because I didn't like looking through the scope and that dim of light and stuff like that. I mean, if I couldn't see it over the, over those iron sights, and I didn't need to be shooting at it. But anyways, hunted with that. But I practice out to 100 yards. I would actually sit down. My comfortable range was about 75. You don't think 25 yards with a set of iron sights it makes a difference? It does, because that pie plate goes from very visible, or hard to hit to almost impossible to hit.
Right.
You have to be still. And so I knew my gun very well. So I shot one at 100 yards, killed him that far. But most time I try to stay around that 50 range. About like what bow hunters do now. They 50 and under was a good range. If they were in there, I was solid. I could do that. Yeah. And anything out past that, you had to really pay attention what was between you and them, because there ain't no optics on the gun. You hit a limb or a piece of cane or something like that and not flatten the bullet down the side and wobble off, you miss the deer or you hit it bad.
Yeah, there's no cranking your zoom up as far as you can go looking at it.
That's right. Yeah. But, yeah, man, that old Greyhawk, Thompson Center Greyhawk, 90 grains of powder, and I shot a buffalo bullet. I didn't have to use a wadding. So it was like a bullet, a greased bullet with a little, head on it, or with a round ball on the front of it. And all you do is pour the 90 grains of powder down there and pack it down in there. Put that cap on there and let her eat. Yeah, as long as you kept the gun clean, you was good to go, brother.
Yeah.
Man, and I ain't kidding. I waylaid some does with that freaking thing.
Oh, I believe.
Golly. They're a lot of fun to shoot, and I hate that Mississippi changed that primitive weapon over to, straight wall cartridges and stuff. I know a lot of people probably might, disagree with me on that, but.
And don't quote me on this, but is it not true in Mississippi on private land? You can use any weapon of your choice.
You can use whatever now.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So.
Yeah, it's gun of choice on private land.
Yeah.
You still had to abide by the, whatever the straight wall cartridges are.
Right.
Pre-1900, I think that's still in place now. I don't even look at it no more because we don't have to do it hunting on private land. But it was pre-1900 cartridge, and it could only be a single action gun, so it had to be a breakover gun. And the first year they come out with that, I got excited about that and bought a 45-70, like you was talking about, with that 35 Whalen. And it was a little short H&H or H&R gun, and they let us put scopes on them, so I could have a scope on it. And it was just like, I was a grown man at the time, and that was the worst primitive weapon that I've ever hunted with. That thing would kick your freaking teeth out, man. And it was very inaccurate. I never did. I mean, I didn't want to shoot it to figure out what bullet that worked out of that gun.
That was my problem.
It was just, man, that thing would stomp you. And I'd put 3 scopes on that gun. It broke crosshairs in the gun the first time I was hunting with it. Shot a deer, killed the deer with it, wound up killing the deer with it because I was still shooting. I mean, it didn't help me none. I still wouldn't shoot more than 50 yards with the daggum thing because I was, it wasn't very accurate out very far. It was shooting way further than that, but I could not get mine to zero in and hold tight enough for me to be comfortable with it very far. So I still wasn't shooting at 50 yards with the gun, 60, 70 yards. But it broke the crosshairs in the daggum scope. So, and it was a cheaper scope, so then I went and bought a little more expensive scope, and then I couldn't keep the gun on. Like, you would get out there and sight it in, all of a sudden it'd start throwing bullets. Well, I get to looking and something is off here. It would not hold. I couldn't find nothing that was within my price range that would hold up to that gun. It just bucked so hard. And I mean, it's tore the hide off my fingers before in the trigger guard. That thing coming up off that bench or me shooting it, that it kicked so freaking hard.
Yeah. Like I said, I learned my lesson at 10 years old that was no game. So
it was a lot different back then, man. It was it was real challenging. It was like it was a step above bow hunting back when we had the black powder guns. And, you know, you always had to worry about misfires. And if it was raining like it was yesterday here, you pretty much had to be very innovative to get out in the woods. I mean, my daddy-in-law and them, they used to put condoms over the end of the barrel of the gun, you know, with a little rubber band to keep water from going down the barrel and getting the powder wet. And then the back of the gun, you either had to wrap it with a trash bag or a, you know, Kroger sack or something like that to get you to the stand. And then the rest of the time, you pretty much just stuck it under your jacket and held it in your lap to keep the powder from getting wet or getting in the gun somehow. Because, I mean, if that black powder got wet, it was not going to fire, dude. And it was the funniest thing because when we hunted those government woods over there around not Tillatoga, I can't remember the name of the lake, Puskus Lake. I think that's what it was, off of number 7 over there, like in between Oxford and Abbeville, is where we used to hunt at on that WMA over there. And you would be out in the woods and you thought you was way away from people, but you really wasn't that far. So you was, you know, within 200 yards of people, you couldn't see them. They'd be over a ridge or something like that. But it'd be so funny. You'd realize during that time, people didn't take care of their crap because you'd hear that and the gun you could hear that pop in the wood. You like, I know that was a cat popping.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'd hear it again. And yep, that's what that was. Somebody done misfired.
Isn't it crazy we've evolved so much that then you could hunt 200 yards from somebody. Now 200 yards is a chip shot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy to think about.
Yeah, because that was, you know, some tough hunting over there. It was a lot of people was hunting over there at that time and hunting with primitive weapons too. And man, it was challenging. It was challenging. We were killing deer. I mean, we killed them, but man, it was tough, man. I remember one time there was Jamie and Mark's uncle was telling me a story about this. But anyways, their uncle Jimmy was sitting in a stand over there, and there was a buck walked right up under his stand. So he cocks a hammer on that Thompson center that he had. Well, he fired the shot. And if you've never hunted with a black powder gun, when you fire a black powder gun, it's smoky, especially on a cold, cold morning. I mean, it fills the woods with smoke. And anyways, he said he fired the shot. There was a ditch. He was walking down the ditch. So it said when the buck come by the last tree or whatever, he fired the shot. Boom! He said smoke just filled the woods up. So he said I had to sit there a minute and let the wind kind of blow it out of the way. And he said when the wind blowed it out of the way, the buck was standing on the other side of the ditch eating grass. He said he forgot to put the ball in the gun. He said he didn't do nothing, just shooting powder at him. He said, I swear that ball rolled out of the end of the gun. I said, Jimmy, you didn't put the ball in the gun. You couldn't have. Either that or you just smooth missed.
That buck had nothing to worry about.
No, he said the buck was on the other side of the ditch eating grass. Never fazed him. He just shot the woods full of smoke.
Cover scent. That's what that was.
Yeah, I did that one time. We had those speed loaders I was telling you about and had at Thompson Center. Well, I hadn't killed a deer with this gun yet. So the first deer that come through there, I had this big doe come through. Man, I shot and just folded her up. Boom! She was on a hard walk getting to wherever she was going. Well, I shot and knocked her down. I mean, she just folds up and never moves. She just laid on her side and didn't get up. I was like, all right, I got one. Well, at this time, that's when during primitive weapon, you could kill 2 does in a day. Well, I look up and there was a couple more, like it startled them. They were standing in the woods out there, looking at her laying on the ground. I was like, whoa, I'm going to go and get me another one. Well, I done kind of got the shakes, a little bit. I done got excited. So I took those speed loaders and it was not pellets. It was Pyrodex, loose powder. Well, it had packed in that speed loader. So when I bumped it, it all came out in one lick. And I didn't have any on my hand, none on the end of the barrel. And I was like, dadgum, did I not put no powder in? So I throwed that one down, throwed the bullet and the cap down, on the stand. And I reached in my pocket and got the other one out. And I hit it and that one come out. And I watched it come out. So I packed powder down there. Well, I had a mark on my rod to let me know if the gun was loaded or not loaded. So that mark let me know when I packed it down that that's where it needed to be at. Well, it was about dusk dark. And I ran it down. I never looked at that rod. And I packed that thing down in there, and I put that cap on there, and I turned to shoot that next doe. She was broadside with her head straight up. And I fired the shot. And when I fired the shot, of course, it sounded like a cannon, just kaboom. And smoke goes everywhere. And it kicked the hell out of me. And I was like, daggum. I was like, man. So I sit there for a minute, and it took 5 minutes for all that. I mean, that smoke was all in the woods. It was everywhere. And I kept sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. Well, the smoke clears, and she's laying there, dead as a hammer. I was like, cool. So I got down, I go over and look, and I shot her in the daggum head. I was aiming at her shoulder. Her head was up straight. I had put 180 grains of powder in that hammer gun by accident. I put 2 loads of powder in it. So when I shot, it shot way high and clipped her in the side of the head.
She had no chance.
No. I'm lucky I didn't blow the barrel off the gun, but man, that freaking thing went off, son. I'm talking about it was so loud. And then the boy that was hunting with me was like, what are you shooting? What are you shooting? He said, that first shot was just boom. He said, that second one like to shook me out of the stand. He said, it was so loud, Mikey. I said, man, I said, I'm pretty sure I put 2 loads of powder in. I did not mean to. But I realized it after I reached under there and my shoulder was hurting so bad. Next day it was black. I was like, man, I got lucky.
Yeah, it got some beat out of it, though, so you're good.
Yeah, that thing could have come to pieces, dude. Well, yeah, I'm not going to kill them 2 does, man. That was something else, boy. 2 loads of powder. But you ever hunted with a muzzleloader like that?
Never have. Hadn't had to since I've been hunting, like we talked about, state of Mississippi's always said, at any point on private land, pick your weapon. So
yeah. When they came to that, I'd kind of already been doing that for a year.
Yeah.
Depending on where I was at, I got tired of them old 45, 70s and stuff. I was like, man, I'll just pay the ticket. Yeah. I'm not doing this no more.
Yeah, as far as primitive, as bow hunting has been that's what I've done.
Yeah.
So, and I enjoy it, and I still enjoy it to this day. I just don't do it as much anymore because bow season's hot.
Have you ever paid attention that it is hard to find like a black powder gun now, like in any like Sports and Warehouse, Academy, they have kit guns, but used to, they had like several different brands of guns. Hawken, they used to have Thompson Center. Thompson Center made several different versions back then. I think Hawken may have too, and then CVA had a bunch of different versions of guns. Now you go in there, man, it's really hard to find an actual hammer gun. What I'm talking about, I ain't talking about an inline muzzleloader. I'm talking about like a side cock hammer gun.
I can't say I've ever seen one.
Yeah, I guess when Mississippi changed those laws, there's no sense in them keeping those guns anymore or supplying those guns. I guess I'm pretty sure Pennsylvania still has a black powder season up there. I have to look to see, but I'm sure you probably go up there and find, one up there at a reasonable price. But down here, man, if you do find them, they're expensive. They're expensive because nobody hunts with them no more. And they're just something that's kind of phasing out. I hate it because it was a lot of fun. It was a heck of a lot of fun back in the day. I may go back to I may look to see if I can find one somewhere. And
there you go.
I don't want to buy a used one because mine's in the corner of the closet hung up now. Well, yeah, because it's I found a hairline fracture in the barrel, so I knew better than shoot it anymore. So
we got enough people around here that can find you one. I'm pretty
yeah. So I would love to go back to hunting with that thing periodically, just kind of getting back to my roots and stuff like that. But anyways, you got anything else, Colin?
I'm good.
Well, that's gonna wrap us up for today. If y'all are out there in the field and y'all take something down, I don't care what it is, buttonhead, bucks, does, whatever, man. Y'all send us some pictures, put it out there on our Facebook page, send it to us. Let us comment on it, share it with the rest of the people that's out there hunting right now. Y'all be careful, and y'all can check us out on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. We should have some pretty good recipes coming up. Should have some hunting videos coming out on YouTube for too long. We did an elk hunt and a hog hunt back a few weeks ago, so y'all be looking for that. We should have a few deer hunts coming up. And if y'all got any questions or anything, don't be shy. Reach out to us. Y'all take it easy. We'll see y'all next time.